Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you are watching Perspective. Climate change is accelerating and the global search for clean, sustainable energy has never been more urgent. As countries ramp up efforts to cut emissions, one solution is quickly gaining ground, and that is green hydrogen. Touted as a game changer, green hydrogen has the potential to decarbonize hard-to-abate industries, reduce greenhouse gas emissions and transform the global energy landscape. For India, with its vast renewable resources, expanding industrial base and a firm commitment to net zero emissions by 2070, green hydrogen isn't just an opportunity, it is a necessity. The good news is we are not starting from zero. With the launch of the National Green Hydrogen Mission, growing public-private collaboration and bold investments in clean technology, India is laying the groundwork for a resilient, future-ready energy economy. In this edition of Perspective, we'll analyze how the National Green Hydrogen Mission is not only reshaping our energy strategy, but also positioning India as a key player in the global green hydrogen revolution. I'm joined by three distinguished experts, so I'll begin the program by introducing them to you. With me in the studio is Mr. Praful Pathak, President of the Solar Energy Society of India. Mr. Pathak, thank you for your time. Welcome to Sansad TV. Joining us virtually is Mr. Sachin Chugh, Vice President, Hydrogen Association of India and Hydrogen Lead India at Arup UK. Mr. Chugh, glad to have you with us on this broadcast. Also joining us is Mr. Pashupati Gopalan, CEO of Phoenix Energy. Mr. Gopalan, glad to have you with us on this broadcast as well. So, Mr. Chugh, I'll come to you for the first question, and let's start with the big picture. What does green hydrogen mean for India's future, energy future to be precise, and how critical is it going forth in achieving our 2070 net zero target?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me on the panel. And to answer your question, I would narrate that, India's decarbonization narrative is at a very pivotal inflection point where the clean molecules they must move beyond the theoretical promise into the system of real-world impact. And that's what, is the story of green hydrogen. In this context, hydrogen should not be viewed as a singular solution, but rather as a foundational enabler. It enables the intersection of multiple fuels, the decarbonization pathway or the journey which the country has envisioned. And like you said, the hard-to-abate sectors, which are very critical for mitigating the carbon emissions, this particular fuel can change the tides in the favor of zero-emission future. We know that, Green Hydrogen Mission has been launched and it has signaled a very bold vision, but how to convert this vision into tangible outcomes will depend on the cross-sector collaboration. And that's what we are seeing through various national programs. It is a zero-emission fuel. This all of us know that, and it is a molecule that can actually fit into multiple sectors at a given point of time. So when we say that, hydrogen has the potential, it has the potential in terms of the width of the applications it can address simultaneously, be it industry or mobility or the shipping or the marine sector, aviation is another one. But also it is the depth of the technological production pathways, be it the electrolyzers or be it the biomasses of the, India being an agrarian country, and the integration of these supply chains that can happen. Green hydrogen has a very exciting future for India to take forward its net zero journey.
Absolutely. So multiple factors which are driving the momentum. Mr. Pathak, I'll come to you. India has one of the world's largest renewable energy potentials. Our installed capacity crossed 200 gigawatt by the end of 2024. Projections of investments doubled to over 32 billion in 2025 so far. We still have 6 months to go. We're also accelerating efforts at multiple levels to achieve the target of 500 gigawatt of renewable capacity by 2030. So taking on from what Mr. Chugh said, the green hydrogen is an enabler. So how is it enabling or enhancing our efforts to meet the 2030, which is the short-term goal, but also the larger goal, which is the 2070 net zero emission target?
Well, as in the beginning you said, whatever we are doing is for climate change, and for that we have set the target which you have explained about 2030 and 2070. So we are on the way, we are in that momentum, and when we had that background in 2022, government has come up with a national green hydrogen mission, and that expects that whatever these whatever the installations or whatever the things which we have in next 10 years, we have to develop or we have to put efforts on R&D, so that the electrolyzers or other things which are we are looking for some other countries, then we can have our own electrolyzers, because that is the one cost which may be an important thing. And our target for 2030 is to achieve 5 MMT of hydrogen. Even they says that we may achieve 10 MMT. So the basic things which we are looking at this juncture are to have a R&D research, then some pilot projects, then we can have experience on that, and on the basis of that we need to develop a base, so that we can achieve our targets up to 2030. Once we achieve that base, definitely we can multiply that, and whatever the targets we set, net zero targets we set for 2070, we can move more with a multi-speed in the future.
Okay, before I go across to Mr. Gopalan and try and understand the public-private partnership in this sector, I'll take one question from you, Mr. Chugh, and this relates to the National Green Hydrogen Mission that India launched with great ambition a few years ago. So help us and our viewers understand, how do you assess the progress of this mission so far? Also, what are the key milestones that we should be watching out for in the next few years in context of both our 2030 and 2070 goals?
Yeah. So this before the National Green Hydrogen Mission was launched, I think your viewers might not be aware that India actually started looking at the hydrogen journey in 2003, where a national hydrogen energy roadmap was launched, under the chairmanship of Mr. Ratan Tata. And the ambition was, again, to address multiple aspects, that how to bring the energy security into the system while addressing the environmental pollution. National Green Hydrogen Mission has been one of the pivotal points, which has been launched by Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and that brings in all sectoral developments into one platter, how green hydrogen can address multiple sectors at a given point of time. Now, under this program, there are multiple sub-steps which the government of India is progressing with. First of all, like there have been views on this panel, how to decrease the cost of hydrogen production through innovation in technology, and that brings to the fact that how to support the supply side of the molecule, as well as how to accelerate the indigenous technology development in India. So National Green Hydrogen Mission has been addressing both these facets through multiple PLI schemes, those who are giving incentives in terms of both production, enhancing the production capacities for the electrolyzers, as well as for the biomass technologies, as well as giving the support mechanisms for the green hydrogen molecule, or the overall price of the green hydrogen molecule. Having said that, the supply side is covered. There have been many programs to enhance the research and development under this particular mission, where the leading institutes are coming together and they are trying to address some of the critical problems which impact the hydrogen value chain. There are also pilot programs around the application side, be it the steel sector, be it the refining sector, the fertilizer sector, as well as the mobility sector, which is the current, which is the new kid in the block. Now, combining these sectors, the idea is to trigger the demand to facilitate the development of the local ecosystem. And on the upfront, with those supply side benefits, the objective is to bring down the cost of the molecule. And that's where it's an integrated attempt by the government of India under this National Green Hydrogen Mission to address the key aspects of hydrogen and how to get it involved in the existing energy portfolio.
Absolutely. So the National Green Hydrogen Mission that is being spoken about, viewers, is being implemented in a phased approach. There are two phases. So I'll take that forward to Mr. Gopalan as well and understand his perspective. That the fact that green hydrogen is being touted as a transformative solution, it cannot be implemented, or the results, the impact cannot be actually studied unless all stakeholders and their role is spoken about. So, sir, in that context, if I may ask you, public and private players are both essential to scaling green hydrogen in India. So, from your experience, where do you see the strongest collaboration happening today, and what more needs to be done to accelerate adoption of green hydrogen?
See, I think at the highest level, we need to reach an alignment of the context and acknowledge reality. I hear a lot of comments, people saying green hydrogen is expensive and all of that. You know, I started working in hydrogen about 20 years back in NASA in California. So a lot of development work on the technology has happened over the last 2-3 decades. Electrolyzer as a technology is not new. Mankind has been using it for 4-5 decades. All the elements of technology exist already. And the acknowledgement of reality that both the people in public life and private have to accept is, given the technologies and given where the expenses are, costs are today, it is true that green hydrogen will be maybe $3.50 or $4 a kilogram, as opposed to producing hydrogen from natural gas, which emits carbon dioxide, which may be sub $2 or $1.50 or whatever it is. So somebody, presumably the governments of the world, have to step in and bridge that gap. If they don't do that, I don't think private enterprises, they may do some experimental pilot projects, but they're not going to squander away profits or accept losses to save the world from climate change. Climate change is a problem that everybody has to support, but the biggest kitty, trillions of dollars, is available amongst the head of states, and they all have to come together and bridge this gap. Absolutely. It is essential that hydrogen, along with solar and wind and storage, become the way mankind uses energy. Fossil fuel has to go away as fast as possible. Gas, petroleum, diesel, coal. The faster we understand that this is a common problem for entire mankind and bridge that gap, the faster we will solve the problem. Now, the second issue is, do the heads of state understand where can you develop and manufacture hydrogen the cheapest in the world? You should do that there and ship it everywhere. That's where India can become the shining new example for the whole world. Manufacture its own energy, reduce its energy import today, which probably stands at $150-200 billion. If we go to a $7-8-10 trillion economy, this is going to balloon up to $500 billion or more, which is not going to be sustainable for the rupee. So India is necessarily going to have to build energy security, but there is a clear solution that we can transform the world, make other countries understand they can support the viability gap funding, if you will, between that $4 and $2 or $3.50 and $1.50, and let that industry be on an aggressive cost reduction roadmap to go from $3.50 to $1.50 or $2 or $1, whatever the case may be, right, and make it the natural choice that every private industry will use, whether it is in steel, power generation, maritime fuel, which already people like Maersk have been pushing, blending it into the gas pipelines or fertilizers. I think there is enough and more applications for hydrogen that can happen today. But this viability gap funding has to come together, and the heads of nations, of states of the world have to give that money for that.
Certainly.
It's
So a lot
beyond,
needs to be
it's
done going
beyond
forward.
what India can.
Okay,
This-
and in context of the intervention made by Mr. Gopal and Mr. Pathak, I'll ask you a question related to the role that you perhaps see public institutions, research bodies playing in strengthening the renewable hydrogen link, especially in areas like innovation and cost efficiency, because these are two critical areas of critical challenges that have been flagged up.
Yeah, you rightly said that these are the challenges. But when there are challenges, the institutions which are available there, they will work for that. And in this case, as my co-panelist has suggested or said, that we have to look and fossil fuel has to go. Secondly, one important thing which India is looking after is whatever the fuel expenses which we have to reduce that, because they are at a very high amount. So to reduce that, you have to go for some option, and that option has to be affordable. And to make that option affordable, you need to bring in all the stakeholders together. You have to develop some pilot projects, you have to go for research, then you have to get the data from that, and then you have to look in what are the other technologies or things that are available around us or in India or around the world, and how can we put that into our studies or our research, and whatever the data, we have to develop it in such a way that the cost affordability is the important thing, and that has to be achieved, and that is what all these stakeholders has to look in. And with this mission, green hydrogen mission, we are on the way.
Okay, how are we then ensuring that we are capitalizing on the opportunities for public-private partnerships also at the local level in linking the renewable rich states with the green hydrogen pilot projects?
We are coming in this mission, we have a plan to have some hubs. We are developing some hubs which are beneficial to us from their location point of view, or for all these perspectives which you are mentioning. And if we can develop these type of hubs, definitely the whatever the hydrogen we are expecting, if we could get it into the range which is right now away from us, and particularly in both the cases, the grey hydrogen and green hydrogen, there is a gap. There is a gap of other resources which are available. So the efforts are, whether it is a public-private partnership or otherwise, efforts are to reduce the this gap and make it affordable or make it reachable. And once we go ahead, and if we can make it on a higher scale, definitely we can achieve that rate. And if we can achieve that rate, that will be helpful to us.
Okay. Mr. Chog, are there examples of public-private collaboration perhaps that are already taking place, that are showing promise in India's hydrogen ecosystem? And a related question on the biggest regulatory or infrastructure gaps. How can the government and the industry, since we are talking about public-private partnership, how can we expect both these key stakeholders to work together to plug those gaps?
I think under the National Green Hydrogen Mission, the effort has been to bring on the common table the public-private partnership and collaboration. So if you see a broader picture, it is all about that the supply side incentives are largely enabling the private sector to act as a mass producer for both technology as well as the molecule. While if you see on the demand side, we are targeting the likes of the refineries, the likes of the fertilizer plants, and the ports, hydrogen hubs was being talked of as the public entities taking forward and enabling the demand creation. So basically, these two aspects are getting married through a very fine fabric being interwoven by the central ministries. And we should also not forget the kind of incentives or the the enablers which the Indian states are going to, the role which they are playing, they are actually having their own targets of accelerating the green hydrogen production. So apart from the 5 million metric ton target which has been set under the National Green Hydrogen Mission, many states are having their own targets which would sit over and above this. So it's a collaborative effort which is already being anchored. However, as far as answering your second question on the infrastructure side, and what kind of challenges we can have, I think the regulations, both in terms of technology adoption, the certification of the technology when it has to be deployed at the areas where it has to coexist with certain fossil fuel technologies, that has to be strengthened. The safety aspects are going to play a major role, especially considering that it is hydrogen. However, there are enough proofs that if we follow the stringent norms which are set up, we can address those issues, and hydrogen is as safe as other molecules. The integration of renewable energy with the hydrogen production, the benefits which are being given by the central government, both in terms of enabling the molecule to reach the place where the hydrogen production has to be done. So these are the regulations which have already triggered, but there is a lot to do in terms of approving process, in terms of single window clearances systems, in terms of land acquisitions, in terms of going ahead with with installations of the energy storage, hydrogen, and the renewable energy systems as one chain. So means we are progressing ahead, but there is a lot of work to do in this regard.
Certainly. You spoke about incentives. Let me ask Mr. Gopalan whether the current policy incentives are enough to attract large-scale investment. And a second part to that question, and since it can be from a private sector perspective, Mr. Gopalan, how are companies like Phoenix Energy engaging with the government's hydrogen vision? If there is one priority on policy on plugging the gaps, what would it be? What would you suggest?
See, I think for me the biggest issue is not R&D, not pilots. The technology is known to mankind. What is the issue for scaling up is really the gap. I don't think private companies are going to be able to close the gap. The governments have to step in. My recommendation to our government will be fourfold. One is figure out how to bring dollar-denominated debt, open up the floodgates for that, whatever regulations are required, so that the global debt markets, where the debt capital markets, they can participate in our hydrogen projects and bring down the cost of debt funding by 400, 500 basis points, and thus reducing that gap somewhat. Second is solar modules today have a 45% duty. This is not a sector when you're trying to develop a new industry like hydrogen and become a global leader. You may not want to add a 45% duty because you're trying to create manufacturing jobs in solar. I would keep that away. Every project of hydrogen using solar should be allowed to import its module and not have to pay 45% duty. Third is GST is like a revenue share of the government. Why does the government need to have revenue share right now when you're trying to create the industry? So figure out mechanisms to do away with GST. The fourth is Government of India, the Prime Minister of India should go and ask the world for $500 billion or $1 trillion and say, to save mankind from climate change, let's put money on the ground in India, because that's the biggest bang for buck. We can produce hydrogen the cheapest possible way. We will export ammonia, e-methanol, other ways of moving hydrogen in other carbonaceous or other sort of materials, liquefied hydrogen or whatever other new technologies will come in the future, and we will supply hydrogen to the world. This will not only give us energy security, the world has trillions of dollars looking for destination to reduce climate change, and we could be that destination and bring in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we will solve our energy security problem, which is going to balloon to $500 billion. as our economy grows, and we will become the new Saudi, the new Abu Dhabi, the new Norway of the world, and become the leading exporter of energy in the world. This can happen in 10 years, 20 years if we act now.
There is huge potential, as you rightly said, in India becoming an exporter, a global exporter of green hydrogen, green ammonia. But for that, a lot of work needs to be done. Mr. Chugh, if I may ask you, since you also have international experience, what role do you see these global partnerships playing in accelerating India's green hydrogen economy, whether through tech transfer, maybe market access, and even financing, which is very crucial?
Yeah, I think this is one of the important points. Do we really need to reinvent the wheel, or we have to learn from how the world has already tasted it? And coming from a global multinational consultancy, Arab, where we have led around more than 300 projects across the world in hydrogen, what we have found is that there are 4 pillars to the entire hydrogen value chain. Technology surely is being talked of, but I think it has enough mature legs now to be adopted at a scale at which it is being talked of. But it is again the end application, the integration with the renewable energy, the land and the utilities, the water, and the policies and the regulatory. So what we have observed is that there have been efforts across the globe where we can learn from those case studies. They might not be specific to India, but there is enough for us to learn and take forward these leaps ahead, where we quickly move from the pilots to the deployments. And that's where the word, there are talks of exporting the molecules from here. And the word is waiting that how India can actually ensure, these kind of supply chains at a cost, which no other country can match. So we have a fascinating opportunity at hand, but the time is right to adopt some of the technologies, learn from the countries which are already doing, done this kind of stuff, rather than waiting for 2030 to come, as a year where we will unfold the 5 million metric ton, target. But enough references are available. There is a need for a quick learning, and quick adoption of those learnings into the Indian system. Okay,
to wrap up the conversation, Mr. Pathak, I'll take one last comment from you, and this is about electrolyzer manufacturing, which is a critical link again in the hydrogen value chain. How are we building or enhancing our domestic manufacturing capabilities, and which are the areas where we are still relying on imports? How can we also address that challenge?
In fact, the mission target is to become a self-sufficient, and particularly in electrolyzers, because they are the one where the cost is high, and that is what the mission target is. And looking at our previous performances in last 1 decade of India, I am sure that we are in a position to achieve or we can go nearby what targets we are setting up. And as my co-panelist says, if we can achieve that in electrolyzers, then definitely we can achieve what target we have set for. And more than that, in our mission we have planned for export, and we have a big targets for export after 2030. So looking at the situations, we are sure that we are in a position to do that.
Can you think of a policy or an innovation which can be the game changer in India's green hydrogen story?
It will, because see, when the mission comes in, definitely it has some objectives and target. As you said, there are 2 phases of mission. So first phase will end in next year. So there will be a review on that whatever the target set or whatever the objectives set, what we have achieved or not. And after taking a review, definitely some new things, if there exists a requirement that we need to change the path or we need to make the things different, it will be there.
So vital steps have been taken, but a lot more needs to be done to achieve the desired goal and the outcomes. So with that, we'll have to wrap up the conversation. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for joining us on the program, sharing your thoughts, your views with us and our viewers. And thank you very much, viewers, to you as well for your time.
संसद टीवी के और भी प्रोग्राम्स देखने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें हमारा YouTube चैनल और हाँ, इन्हें लाइक और शेयर करना ना भूलें।